is it funny? Because it's John Wayne. They're like, we don't know who that is.
You guys are live. You guys are live.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. We are live.
I'm reading your poem right now.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Native Wellness Power Hour. And this is our Native Wellness 20th anniversary and 20th year in the year 2020. Oh my goodness. And we're on program 207th Power Hour, week 34. And this year program is sponsored by Nike N7. And my name is Gene Tagaban. I work with the Native Wellness Institute. I'm one of the board members, and it's good to have everybody here. And thank you so much for this here noon power hour lunchtime. And so I have some really awesome special guests online here with me. And I have the Chelseas, or at least a couple of them. I have Ivy, and we have Phyllis online, or she's on the phone, and show us your mom. The phone.
She's right here.
There's your mom. Hi, Phyllis. And so, some of you may be familiar with the Chelseas. They're from originally from Alkali Lake, out of Williams Lake, BC, and we're just gonna have a conversation about just the work that they do, the work that they've been involved with, and who they are. They're just awesome people and awesome friends, and I think the last time I actually saw you guys was in the airport in Elko, Nevada. Remember that? Yeah. I walked into the airport because I was working with the tribe over there, and then there you were, you and your mom and your dad. You guys just did a training over there, and I was like, oh, what the heck? And it's a small little airport too. And
yeah, we took pictures. We're like, what the heck? Rabbit made it over here? No.
Hey, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell people who you are.
All right, Mom, you first.
My name is Phyllis Chelsea. I'm from Alkali Lake. I am part of that story called The Honor of All that was made in 1985 by our community. And through that, it has been shown the world over, and we've traveled to show the movie in Australia and Hawaii and different places. And it definitely is a way to put out that it's important to work on sobriety concern in all our communities, for the elders and for the young people and for the parents to know that it's important to be sober in today's world and make our world a better place to be than when we drank 100% a few years ago.
Yeah. Juke? Yeah.
Well, I don't know how long I have.
we have a whole hour.
Oh, okay. In the movie, the community all told their story, and then certain interviews were used to make The Honor of All, and I was one of them. But the fact is that I was the first one to sober up in 1971 at Alkali Lake, where there was a huge alcohol problem. And because I wanted my children to be with me and to grow up with me, I had to make that decision to sober up, and I did. And for me, it was a choice to know that I could drink my life away and not live too long, or to be with my kids. And I wanted to watch my kids grow up, so I sobered up. And then it was a week or two later that Andy decided to join me. But it started with Ivy didn't want to come home because she was fed up with the drinking going on with us. And so, with Ivy support and encouragement and all the good things Ivy is, we started our sobriety life. Thank you, Ivy.
Me. Yeah. Well, I'm Ivy Chelsea. I'm the stubborn 7-year-old girl that decided, well, I would have had to know that there was a difference between people being sober and people drinking. And so to me, when I go out and today I'm a language teacher. And so I work from kindergarten to grade 12, teaching our Secwepemc language. And so when they get to grade like 4 or 5, I show them the honor of all video. And I show them the inspiration behind. I let them know that when you when you have one addiction, you swap for another, and you look for something else that's more meaningful. I said for our community was to go from alcoholism to go towards saving the language and taking the trauma away from speaking the language, because a lot of our speakers back in 1971, 72, 73, all went to residential school and remembering being strapped for and being made to kneel in the corner. And so when I showed the honor of all video, and then I explained that all of the language classes that we're doing now was inspired by sobriety, was inspired to create cultural identity where our self-esteem was so low that the kids and the adults that the kids grew into needed to be okay being Secwepemc again, needed to be okay with speaking the language, because I was, Dad always told me that the language is connected to the land. So when we lose our language, we're losing our spiritual connection to the land. So it's always important to do tobacco offerings, do food offerings, to remember, to not forget, and drum, sing, even if you just sing one song, right? As long as that song is you sing it with your spirit, and you make that connection, and then our ancestors are Secwepemc. I explained to the students that when we sing and we do the honor song, that we're honoring all of our ancestors from that land, from that area. And when we do it in our Secwepemc, then our language is connecting to all of our ancestors before English. So that's why it's important to take the time to learn a simple prayer, because then you're inviting all the elders and our ancestors from so far back that English was never spoken. So they're trying to be there and be involved, but they can't understand you because you're talking in English, right? So learning the language is important, and I honor Mom and Kiame and Lily and Selena and Juliana and all of our elders. Mom, Juliana, and I think we have Isabel, Rose, Tessie. We had the highest percentage of speakers like 3 years ago. Now we only have 5. Right, and to me, our it's 2020, but our fight's not over.
Yeah.
Right, the kids need to find the fight, and so when we're watching Smoke Signals, and they didn't get any of the jokes, they didn't see the importance of the humor, they didn't see the funny behind John Wayne's teeth, and they didn't see the humor behind what was being shown in there, right? And so that was so I went from the honor ball, the Smoke Signals, and then I showed them the inconvenient truth. Then I said traditional food versus non-traditional food. I made them watch Super Size Me. A lot of the kids don't eat McDonald's anymore. They're like, that's gross. I said, yeah, because that's not our traditional food. and then I just got them listening to stories. And the last one I showed them was Kanasatagi, the standoff in Oka, where they were fighting to save the land, so it didn't get expanded into a golf course. That's my grade 7 and 8 class. And I want to create that cultural identity where they feel and they sense that there's still a fight that needs to be won. Like just because we're sober, right? And just because we're working on our language, we still need to protect the land. We need to protect the water because that's where our food is. We need to protect the land because that's where our other food is, and we need to take care of one another. And and then COVID hit, right? It's time to self-reflect. And Mom was sharing with me. I said, holy Mom, we're going to be going into COVID. We're not allowed to go see anybody. We're not allowed to hug or go see our family. And she says, well, it's about time those non-native people got to experience what it was like for us going to residential school. I was like, oh, didn't even think of that. But yeah, that's true. Right, Mom?
Yep, that's right.
I know a lot of them too were really mad because they couldn't go to church or express themselves in their ways in that way. And I was thinking that same exact thing. It's like, okay, now here you are, you're all on the res now. You're all on the res, and this is how it's feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. So we did.
I just wanted to say that originally when I sobered up, and my concern for the community after we had been off the reserve for about 12, 15 years, living in a sawmill and drank a lot. When I moved on to the reserve, my concern was for the safety of the children. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of kids that were dying, but a lot of people in general were dying because of alcohol. And that was my reason to change things for the kids, so the kids will grow up in a different way. So for me, that was the point of working with the parents and the elders to change their drinking ways and to possibly look at a different way of living on the reserve. And that's what happened. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and things did change, right? Because we did live up at the mill, and then we went to live on the reserve, and then like Dad never said I love you. Me and Mom, we can say I love you, Mom, and she'll say it back, I love you, Mom. And Mom was so open about sharing that, but that was only up until the training. And then once they did the New Directions training, it used to be called IPE, then we heard it, saw it, felt it more. And Dad never said I love you to me, right? But my kids would go up to Dad and say, I love you, and he'd say it right back, I love you too. And I just look at him, I just finished telling him I love you, and he's like, I love you, Dad. And he's like, yeah. So to me, that's a reflection of residential school that's still being carried, right? That expression of self-love, but at the same time, I know Dad loved me because he showed me. Mm-hmm. I didn't need to hear the words, but he would show me. And according to my brothers, I'm the spoiled one. According to me, they're the spoiled ones. But it all goes back to family dynamics, right? Being able to understand how different families have their different dynamics and how to learn to be there for one another, right? Because because my brother Robert, for the longest time. You know, and I understand it now, but when I was young, in my younger days, we'd go home for Christmas, and Robert would be there, and as soon as I see him, I was like, okay, let's go, and I'll grab my kids and we'll leave. Like, we won't even be there more than 5 minutes, and then if he was there and I showed up with my kids, and then he'd pack up his kids and he'd leave, because, you know, I there was just the animosity there. And it wasn't until I took a grief and loss, I went to a grief and loss workshop, and one of the things that they asked us to do was to who had the biggest impact, whose death had the biggest impact on you, and that would be my brother Dean. And they said, tonight your homework is to go home and write a letter. And all I did was, Dear Dean. That was it. I couldn't get anywhere past Dear Dean. It was too hard to write. And so I went back the next morning and said, okay, who wants to share their letter? And so everybody shared their letter. And then he said, Ivy, you want to share? And so me, see, yeah, I'm the talkative one, right? You can't get me to shut up for nothing. But that was all I was able to write. And then he says, okay, so he says, so that's been a big impact on you and your family. So do you have pictures up in your house? And I'm like, no, we don't have any pictures of Dean. He's like, well, you need to get some. And so we went, and I went to Mom's, and I said, do we have a picture of Dean, his last picture? And she had one, grade 10, hidden under her hiding spot underneath the mattress. And it was a tiny little picture. There was 2 by 3s. And I went and I blew it up as big as I can. And I made 5 by 7s. And I made 6 copies. I was a student going to university. So, you know, you go to dollar store shopping. So I went and got the dollar store frames, and I made 6 of them. I made 1 for Dad, 1 for Mom, and 1 for Robert, Kevin, and Snout, and 1 for me. And so that's what I wrapped. And so here comes Robert. Christmas. And I was like, all right, well, I don't think I should stick around. Because he came up, he had a black eye. And I was like, you know, and just get irritated. I'm like, God, Mom and Dad are, you know, working so hard on sobriety. And here's Robert being Robert. And I was like, okay. So I left. I left the house, and Robert was still in the house opening gifts. And then he comes walking up, and he's walking in front of me like this. And I'm like, get out of my way. And I went to step around him, and he stepped in front of me again. I'm like, what do you want? And he stepped in, and finally he made me look up at him, because he's tall. So I was just trying to dodge him. And finally I looked at his face, and he said, Ivy, this is the best Christmas gift ever. And he gave me a hug. And from then, I decided that I needed to be a big sister. Because sometimes we forget that. You know, we're busy being adults, trying to adult around, but we forget to be a big brother, a big sister, a little brother, a little sister. We forget to be a grandma. We forget to be a daughter. We forget to be friends. You know, those family relationships are really important. And then after that, whenever I saw Robert and my kids, and you know, one person's impact impacts your family, right? So whenever Robert would show up, my kids would just automatically start getting ready to hop in a car. And I'd look at them and I said, we're not leaving. But I said, no, we're staying. Oh, we're not going? I said, no, we're going to stay. You know, so it's when we carry our garbage around, we don't realize how much our garbage stinks of other people's worlds. We have to learn to let go of our garbage and drop it, you know, and make sure that our kids don't walk by and pick it up. right? Because that's the point, right? And that's what our elders, that's what mom, that's what dad always said. He says, I fought in life so you guys wouldn't have to fight. Right? You don't need to be going around and carrying on this fight. We did that fight for you. Right? And to me, that really makes sense. So now when I go home, it doesn't matter what time it is. It doesn't matter how sober he is or how drunk he is. You know, I'll stop by and I'll go in and I'll see him and I'll give him a hug. And now he expects it, and it's different. But it took a long time to get there, right? Because sometimes when we're like 30, 40, 50, we think we know it all. We're still kids according to our parents. Ah, you kids should smarten up.
Ivy, I need to say,
Yeah.
In those years when Robert and Ivy didn't acknowledge one another, it really bothered me that Robert would come and Ivy would leave even on Christmas Day. And I would see them separate. So today when I still see them give hugs to one another, it means a lot to me. There's no words need to be said, just a hug. I want to tell it to whoever's listening. Take a risk. Give a hug. It's a good, if it's coming from your heart, it's a good hug. Anyway, I just needed to share that because it's still touches me to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm learning to be a big sister.
Well, you know, we talked about just the other day on the phone too, and you asked me that question. Have you found yourself around your relatives, your children, grandchildren, or the community, and suddenly you look around and you're the elder in the room? You know, and it's happened to me. I'm like sitting there and they're like, and I told you this story that they're going, okay, we're going to start off with a prayer from our elder here. And so, okay, it's like, and in my mind, I'm talking to myself going, oh, that's a good way. That's a good thing. Okay, we'll start off with an elder or say a prayer here. And then suddenly they go, oh, Mr. Gene, can you say the prayer for us? We want to start off in a good way with an elder's prayer. And I'm like thinking, okay, I'll say the prayer, but when the heck did I become that elder? And just snuck up on me. Maybe that's why I'm growing this stuff here. It's like trying to look like that elder or something. But it's just, you know, it's like, but it's just one of those things too. It's like because I was in that role of being the uncle in our communities and being that uncle and that brother and those things too. And now I'm starting to get into that role of what's it take to be that elder and, you know, and our roles. And I'm still, you know, I'm like going, oh, man, it's like, I don't know if it's, I'm just like, we'll see what happens here. You know, we'll see what happens. Hey, I want to, you know, you talked about the training, the new directions, you know, and when we say the training, we know exactly what we're talking about, you know, and I just want to share this part of the story is a little bit of my story because when I first met Phyllis, when I first met you, I was like this 22-year-old, thought I knew everything, black hair, young dork.
Yeah.
I remember.
Anyways, you know what I did? It was the training, I think it was in '86 in Juneau, Alaska. And I was told to go there by my mom, first of all, but I had a choice to go there. And I didn't want to be there. I was like, and I looked around that room. I remember looking around that room, looking at everyone going, everyone else needs to be here, but I don't need to be here. What the heck, you know? And like, oh, they definitely need to be here. And we're talking about this, the training, new directions training that they experience. But I'll tell you what, you know, sometimes in our lives, we have these moments, we have these experiences that shape and change our lives. And I have to say it was the New Directions training that just put me on my path. And especially after that, there's an exercise in there called lifeboats. It blew me away, man. That just blew me away. But anyways, the New Directions gathering training, just, it was after that training, Phyllis, where I told myself, and I said, that's what I'm going to do with my life. I'm going to do what they're doing. I'm going to do what they're doing. And that's what I've been doing for the last 30 something years, 40 years. It seems like forever, and so it's one of the reasons what I would love to get the New Directions training back, and going too. It's like we're the people are familiar with it again, as if, like watching smoke signals, they know what the heck's going on. and so but maybe you could explain a little bit to us too what the New Directions training is. I mean, what is that?
I'll share, and then you can share.
Okay.
New Directions is a training that we decided to do after we had experienced a training called Life Spring from California. But what was missing in there was our view and the respect for our culture as Native people. So we started to use culture as part of our New Directions training. And it hit it right on for people to look at respecting who they are as Native people and to be okay with feelings. And that's why we didn't grow up like that. And so that changed the whole world as we travel all over the place doing those kinds of trainings and still do. Mm-hmm. So that was different from being raised at the St. Joseph's Mission where you prayed and that was about it.
Yeah. And I took the training when I was 18, and that was the same thing too. I wanted to be a trainer after I took the training. I was like, I need to do this. I said, it feels good. I like the dancing part of it. That was my big thing. You get to dance all the way through. And I like to dance. The training is set up in such a way that it's like peeling away an onion. Right? You take out that outer layer of how people see you and how you think you are, right? And then look past that, and then taking a look at their different ways we interact with one another, whether or not we trust someone, different beliefs that we carry around that work for us and don't work for us anymore, and how we interact with our world, and how our thinking sometimes stops us because it's the amount of energy that we put into different ways of being. And sometimes we want to be bossy. Sometimes we don't feel like being bossy. We don't want to give that energy. Sometimes we're just like 100% and we're going to move and shake and get things rolling. And, being a teacher and allowing somebody else to carry that torch and move on. So to me, the training is about just scratching the surface of who you are and things that you might not have given any thought to, because it's 5 and 10 days of just looking at you, and even if you sit through the training for 5 days and you don't say a darn thing, you will absorb that training and how people are, how you see yourself in your world and things that you want to change. And so yeah, and I remember going to Alaska. I remember going down Camp Chaparral in Yakima, the different places that we've traveled to do the training. Mom and Dad worked on a book, and it's called Resolve. And so I was thinking, well, geez, I need to write a book, and me and Mom need to sit down and write down all the places that we traveled and did after the Honor of All was made in 1985, 86, all the different places that Mom and Dad traveled to, and just connect that world again of the grassroots that moved along. And when I see Ethel Blondin from way up Northwest Territories, and I see Gene Tagaban way down there. We first met him in Juneau and Sitka, and Patty Elias way up in Alaska and Tanana, and Selawashins from Yakima Nation, and Marilyn Begay from down Navajo Nation, and seeing all and how COVID hit, right? And just knowing there's a really big part of our heart and our spirit. We're with all those communities that are being hit, and just saying prayers and just wanting everybody to be safe, and knowing that families are really being hit by COVID, and just to remember to be there for one another, and be strong. And what I liked about the training, I do some processes in my classroom. Some of the processes, yeah, I make the kids do the intention walk across the room.
I still do
Like,
them.
how many ways?
I still do those processes with groups, and also I take a look at them with myself, because like you said, it's an awareness. It's a peeling away of that onion, and taking a look at all those things that are around me, and that's what it's done for me. And to this day, still after all these years, I take a look at those things, and plus I use those processes, those exercises with groups, and because because they work.
Yeah.
They work. And to this day, I still say my contract. I still with myself all the time. I tried to change it at one time, but it's like it's too wired in me. It's still ingrained in me and stuff. And so it's like I tried to change it, and I was like, I always go back to the original one that I had.
Yeah.
But it has shaped my my thinking, my way of seeing things, and of being, and training. And so it's like, how can I be out there and influence and be with other people and help them too, and healing, and I know you and your family, and I just want to acknowledge your father and the work that he's done, and is no longer with us, is with us in spirit, and just how men need that. Men need someone like Andy around to because men, we need to heal. We need a lot of healing. And so it's one of the things I've always had is I've always wanted to get the trainings back up and going too. And I was working with a tribe down here in Washington, and I happened to be working with Tassie Nelson, and we'd always go, gee, we got to get that training going again back down here, but it's like, and at this time of COVID, when everything's all closed down, and it's like a lot of people are taking a look at themselves. They're taking a look at the onion, and they're trying to figure out, okay, they're starting to peel things away a little bit, but yeah. And so,
Yeah,
Phyllis, thank you. Thank you for all the work that you've done, and I know you're healing up right now. Had to slow you down a little bit, I guess.
I remember, I just want to say the first time I did the training, and then I went home, and how I felt was a whole lot different from when I had, before I did the training, was to put it right into my life. And I remember being really scared to do it, but I didn't. So when I went home, I went to my mom's house, and as soon as I walked in, she says, I filled you up some coffee, filled you up some tea. and some soup there. And I said, yeah, Mom, thank you. I just needed to tell you something, Mom. I want you to know that I appreciate all what you do for me. You do a lot for me and my kids. And I never say anything, but I feel it in here. You are important in our lives. And Mom, I want to tell you I love you. And my mom started to cry. And that was really neat to just have that connection. And then my brother comes in from outside and go into his room, and I stepped in front of him and said, hi, Corey, what you doing? So he told me what he was doing, and I told him I really went through a really special week in Vancouver. And we learned how to appreciate people around us, and that we don't say how we feel, but we need to learn how to do that. So, Cordy, I want to let you know I appreciate all what you do for me and the kids, and I want to tell you I love you. He couldn't even talk. He just bawled and cried. He was a grown man. He was 40 or so. He cried and cried, and we held each other. That was really special. So I told people, you need to practice what we learned. You need to do it. Go home and tell your kids you love them, and your parents and your grandparents. So that changed a whole lot in our community when we started to practice what we learned. Needed to share that.
Yeah. And it was really, it had a big impact because we used to have dances and people would just go in there and say, hey, you want to dance? Give you the chin like this. And you like get up and go on and you go dance with them. And so they danced and you sit back down. But when Mom and Dad came back and we were kids, we were just used to going to the dance by ourselves. Yeah, we're going to go dance. But here comes Mom and Dad, and all of us would go walking in, and we sit down. And I'm looking around, I'm like, well, this is different. We're all just sitting here like together. And then they started playing a rock and roll song, the Nighthawks, you know, and it's the band that's on the video, that's the Nighthawks. So they started playing a song, and I'm just sitting there and I'm scanning around thinking, who am I going to dance with? And Dad's sitting beside me and he grabs my hand and he says, let's dance. I'm like, what? He's like, let's go. And he gets out in the middle of the floor and he's like, moving his legs around. I'm like trying to be embarrassed. And then, but mom reached over and she grabbed Dean. And she got up and she got Dean to dance. And Mom and Dad are just both dancing around and dancing and hooting and hollering, woo-hoo! And I'm like, what's going on with our Mom and Dad? And Dean's like, I don't know. And then pretty soon people were coming up and they were having a conversation with Mom and Dad and they were sniffing. They were like, they've been sober for a long time. So they're like, this is like 10 years after they sobered up. And they're like, so how you doing? Oh, I'm doing good. They're really trying to smell alcohol, but there was no And it was after that people were starting to leave the community and they're all going by bus down to Vancouver and taking this training. And they would come back, and then pretty soon the whole reserve took the training. All of the adults, except for 5 people. Just 5 people didn't take it. But the whole reserve took it, and all of us kids took it. All of us kids took the training. And I remember at Christmas time, there was 150 of us that went through the family training and the youth training. And Christmas time, there's not much to do in like 1976, 78. So we're all getting together. We just did the training. We're like, hey, let's go give hugs. And they're like, what? I said, let's go do 4s. So all of the kids, because we all knew what to do, we would go in one door. I'm at my elementary school. The kids are just coming in from outside. So we'd go in the front door and hug everybody in there and go out the back door and then run to the next house. Pretty soon we went through all the houses on the reserve, and we did that on Saturday. Monday morning, guess who was at the band office? All the elders. Guess they're like, how come you guys are hugging us? What's going on? Are you guys okay? What are you doing in my house? Why are you giving us hugs? I don't understand. What do you mean you love me? How could you love me? You don't even know me. It was really good because now the elders went to the band office, and then the elder said, we don't know what the heck you guys doing, but we want part of it. And then there was the elders training.
Oh,
And I didn't get to go in there, but Father John, the priest, and
yeah.
brother Ed?
Yeah,
Mom?
Brother Ed.
Yeah, Father John and Brother Ed, they took the training, so they got to be on the team when the elders went through. Can you imagine them? And then they were the team leaders, the small group leaders. I was so happy. I was like, oh, all those kias and baas all doing all their own little stretches. Yeah. I was like, I wish I could have been a fly. And it was really good because it was like a spark happened after that, because then all the language just came back. It was okay for the elders. It was okay for the elders to start talking about
just
and
speaking.
just sharing and telling stories and sharing the different knowledge about how to do medicines, how to make a sweat, and like all of that. Just kind of, it was just like a domino effect that happened and just rippled through the community. So yeah, it only takes one, Jean. Might be just you.
And that's it too. I mean, I tell so many people, it only takes one, and you started out with one child, Alkali Lake, which was you, but it only takes one, and I have a vision of this rippling of healing going through native country, Indian country, and just of healing and and I have this vision of global transformation, and it starts off with our indigenous peoples. And it just this ripple effect all over, and I still have that vision. It may not happen until maybe I'm an ancestor, but what can I do now? And I'm talking to those people out there who are listening. What can we do now? What can you do now to start planting those seeds? And I'm on with the Native Wellness Institute with our Power Hour, and we're with the Chelseas from Alkali Lake, and we're talking about the film The Honor of All, the training, the New Directions training, and it's just so good to be here and listening to your stories. It was like the same thing with my mom. She took the training in Alaska. And then I was at her house, and she comes walking through, and there's a glow about her. There's something different about her. And I'm like going, and I'm sitting there going, what the heck is going on with you, Mom? And she just starts to go, oh, I just got back. I took this training, Dad, and she started talking about it. But she goes, and then she just said, you want to do it? At that time I go, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, that sounds good, man. There's something about you, Mom. It's like, sure, I'll check it out. And so the month and a half later came to take the training, and I was going, I don't want to do this. I got other things to do. But it started off with my mother, who took that training, and and then we just started talking, just talking, expressing our love, and then I started hugging my uncles.
Yeah. Okay.
And my uncles, they're like going, oh, knock that shit off. And I'm hugging my uncles some more and stuff. And so, but yeah, but now I can hug my uncles, and they'll hang on, and they'll like hug me back.
Yeah.
And even my dad, he couldn't even hug. He could say I love you, but he couldn't hug or any of those things. And so yeah, I'm really grateful for that. And I love to see the training come make a resurgence and come back and how can we get it back out there again? You know, and I'd like to see that happening as well.
Yeah.
No.
So,
Yeah.
No.
who's your mom? Who's your mom talking to? She's got the nurses there.
Yeah, the nurses there. They're making her eat again. She's like, I'm always eating. We just finished eating. We're eating again.
Well, everyone knows. Well, Phyllis is on the phone right now, and she hurt herself, so she's in the hospital, and she's reluctantly in the hospital.
She's healing.
Healing up.
Not healing.
She's healing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So
Go ahead.
no, I was going to ask you have any other questions? Does anybody have questions from Facebook or?
I don't know if anyone have any questions. I know there's I didn't know you guys had a book out. You guys have a book out now. It's called Resolve.
It is. See, I don't know if I can share it on my screen. I'll see if I could find
Hey,
it.
Jillian, can you share that that picture of the book?
Oh,
I sent it to Jillian.
okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let me grab it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was working here at the school, and one of the ladies, she just happened to phone me, and I had this strange phone number. It's like, I don't know who this is. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just see who it is. I'm like, hello. And she's like, oh, Ivy, I just need some translations for one of the playwrights in Toronto. Can you do this for me? And I'm like, oh, yeah. And so mom, dad, she sent us a copy of the transcript, and he was a playwright. And so we sent it, and came back, and then she's talking about she wrote a book, and I told her, hey, we were looking. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's the book. And so Carol Park Mintz, that's the author. And the photographer of this front page cover is Mom. Mom's the one who took the picture. And that's Dad, and that's Snout, and that's Kevin. Now, these two boys here grew up without alcohol in our family. Me, Dean, and Rob, we grew up with alcoholic parents, but these two young men grew up without. And Kevin, the one standing behind in the blue, has never touched a drop of alcohol in his life. He was born in 1973.
Ah.
Yeah, he's everybody's executor. Yeah, and he's now the I don't know, the land resources director. Like he has a whole plate full of things. He works at the band office. He just started. He takes care of the land. He's the one that directed people to go in and go through all that brush, because in 2017, like BC tried to burn. Mm-hmm. And he went, and the guys went in and just raked and scraped and dug up all the old trees and stuff. So he's part of that that fire safety thing. So he did that. The other one he did was that him and Snout, they both worked there. Him, Snout, Carrie, and Snout's son, Rowan. They got a drone, and they fly way up in the air, and they go all over the Indian reserves, and they look for pit holes, and they find the circles in there. And so they do that, and they document that, and then they have another crew that once they document it, they send the crew out on foot. They drive there, and they go and they document, and they look at, and so they're in charge of looking for archaeologists to come and, to make that claim to our land, right? It's our land, but we have to prove that it's ours, right? God, we were here for a long time, but we still have to prove
Long
it's ours. So, and then the other part is that when people started to get sober a long time ago, Mom and Kiame and Selena and Mary Palmatier and Art Kuipers and Alan Haig Brown and they all cassette tapes recorded our elders on cassette tapes, telling place names and stories and different family tree and where people used to hunt and fish and different stories like that. So Kevin and Snout is part of that crew. They're directing, and they have this transcribing team, and this is Mom's team. It's Mom, Juliana, Cheryl, and they have a video set up and cassette tapes, and they just listen to it. And that was my job last summer, was just to type. So it'll be all in Sohuapmuktiin, but they're telling me what it is in English, and I'm typing the English, so we're transcribing all of that information. So that's also part of Kevin's crew. So Kevin and Snout are just big on that land settlement, land resources. And I told them, I got nominated last year for Indigenous education for BC in Victoria, and I had to drive down there and see whether or not I won. And mine was to, I attached QR codes to the BC Parks Foundation so that people, when they walk into the park, they have their phone, their iPhone, and they scan a QR code, and a story pops up, and then you can hear about the plants that are in the area, and you can, and how the plants were used, or you can hear about how we use this tree. So QR code. So we did 21 different posts in the Roderick Haig Brown, which is Alan's dad, Alan Haig Brown, in the park here, and then they renamed it Juchuach Park, their original traditional name. And then so that park has 21 different posts that have about the plants, about how Sohuapmuk survived, and using those different aspects of the park. So I did the QR codes, and then so I was asking Kevin, I said, Kevin, if I'm sharing this information, at what point, as me as a skedam, at what point does what I'm sharing, what that mom's sharing, becomes intellectual property of the band? And he's like, gee whiz, I was just getting work done, and you have to ask me this very important question. I said, so at what point, right? Yeah, so things are rapidly moving, because our stories and our language and culture, like, that's intellectual property.
Yeah.
Right? It's our elders.
Yep.
It's like 2,000 years a university.
And now science is finally catching up to all that knowledge and saying and proving it that's true, and they're trying to claim it for themselves. They said, we've been telling you this for years. How long? Now you're finally going to listen to us.
Just because they didn't discover it.
Yeah, just like how they discovered us, our ancestors. Hey, we're coming to an end now with this hour here, and it's just really good talking with you and catching up a little bit. And I just want to, and we can go on and on and on and on. I tell people that we're part of the storyteller support group, on and on and on and on, it's just, I just want to, Phyllis, if you have any last words you want to share with people, or with Indian country or First Nations, out there, and any words of encouragement or whatever you want to share. You just tell people.
I think it's really important for the work that we started to keep on going and to happen all over the world with Indigenous people, because we are the ones who have the knowledge from the elders, and we carry that responsibility so that the world, the corporate nations, will work with the elders and the indigenous people to make that a major concern, so that our world will be somewhat safe years from now. But I think that's really important for that to be said and done and taught in the university level. At all levels, I believe it should be taught. It should be offered to elders as a course to acknowledge them that they're part of this group, and to form groups if that's possible, for them to support one another, because as they work together and support one another, then it verifies all the truths out there that needs to keep on being shared in our world. And without our involvement, the corporations will destroy our water, they'll destroy our land, they'll destroy our people. So it's really important for us to stay involved, and for that to be said to the leaders, to support that and set it out so that it happens.
Yeah. For real. Well, before I go, if you don't mind, I'm going to go off screen for a sec. I'd like to sing a song.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
And as she's getting out, again, we're the Native Oneness Power, Native Oneness, and this is our Power Hour. And we were with the Chelseas, Phyllis and Ivy Chelsea, who were this groundbreaking in the early 80s with wellness, health, personal awareness. And with you can check out their film, The Honor of All. I believe it's on YouTube. And we just show them your book on Resolve, and to take a look and to learn about that. And about, I want to say is Phyllis, I'm not sure if you can hear me or not, but that legacy is still continuing on. And I know at the Native Oneness Institute, we want to continue on with that legacy and that teaching, and the wellness for the people and the children. And so we got Ivy here who wants to close up with a song here.
All right. I know how to sing. You guys can stand up. And if you know the song, sing along.
We're standing up. Oh,
Woohoo!
good one. Good
Good
one.
job.
Conectis.
Good
Conexão.
Great.
Oh.
Thank you, Ivy.
Thank you, Mom. I love you.
Love
I'm
you
so
too.
fearless. Thank you. Love you. Love you. Thank you. Conectis.
Love you too. Love you too.
Kusani. Conectis. And so, thank you, Ivy. It's so good to see you. I mean, we could just sit here, just like chat. You know, and so we'll have to do this again. We'll have to get you on again. And
All right.
and I know I talked with Jolene. Yeah, we'd love to like collaborate with you.